San Francisco 49ers receiver Brandon Aiyuk has requested a trade. The Patriots have the cap space to pull this off. They can do it. The better question might be, should they? Stick around. We're about to be locked in to the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful. Thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage and also your first listen each and every day. Remember, Locked On Patriots is not only a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, but we're also free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So smash that subscribe button and download and follow Locked On Patriots wherever you're getting your podcasts to ensure you're getting the latest episode as soon as it's available. I'm your host, Mike D'Abate, and I cover your New England Patriots for Patriots Country. So reach out to me and let me know what's on your mind on X at MDABATE NFL. While you're out there showing some love to Locked On Patriots social media style, please follow our account there as well at LO_Patriots. And of course, Pats fans, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs become a distant memory, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And of course, Pats fans, San Francisco 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade from the Niners. The two sides have been unable to reach an agreement on terms for a contract extension. And accordingly, Aiyuk's now looking for a new start. Now, whether the Niners actually trade away Aiyuk or not remains to be seen. They still hold the cards. But several teams in the NFL, as expected, are going to be knocking on their door. They're going to make an offer to try to put Brandon Aiyuk in their uniform for 2024 and beyond. And guess who's one of the teams that's been mentioned among that group? That's right, folks, your New England Patriots. And it's causing a lot of excitement here in Foxborough. I definitely get it. Brandon's an exciting football player. Everybody would love to see him wearing Patriot blue, including those red throwbacks too. Yeah, definitely a lot of excitement here. It's even causing some reasonable and unreasonable expectations among fans and media. So when Patriots Nation needs a dose of reason, what do? We call our resident voice of reason. That's right. My good friend, my Patriots Paisan, columnist extraordinaire at PatsFans.com, as well as being the co-host of yet another amazing Patriots podcast that you need to add to your rotation, Patriots 4th and 2, alongside the great Derek Havens. He is Steve Balestrieri, my good buddy. Steve, thanks for joining me here today on Locked On Patriots, especially when we need that reason most of all.
Yeah, well, it's great to be here as always, Mike. You know, I love talking football with you, but I'll admit I was bit by the bug when I saw that yesterday because, like you mentioned at the outset there, I pictured the old Pat the Patriot uniform with the red jersey and the white helmet and Brandon Aiyuk running down the field with the football in his hands. And, you know, I momentarily got caught up in all of that myself.
How could you not? I mean, Brandon is such an electric player. He's a versatile player. He can win from so many alignments. He's got the speed. He's got the ability to make contested catches. This kid is a number one wideout, and the 49ers know it. Brandon knows it. And I think the other remaining 31 NFL teams besides the Niners know it. And the Patriots have the cap space to pull it off. And we're going to go into intricate detail, folks, into how the Patriots might be able to pull it off and why this might be an unlikely move. Yeah, that's right. We're going to cover both sides here. Steve is the resident voice of reason. It's going to keep things even keel and on the level. But let's start off with how this all came to fruition and why Patriots fans are so excited. Yesterday, NFL insider Josina Anderson tweeted out that the Patriots were among teams that have contacted the San Francisco 49ers inquiring about a potential trade for Brandon Aiyuk. This happened within the last couple of weeks, so it's not necessarily an old concept that the Patriots are now going to dust off and revisit. They've been keeping the lines of communication fresh with San Francisco, trying to see if something can be worked out. Now, there's no question about why the Patriots are interested in Brandon. We've already gone into that. From their standpoint, this would be a huge addition for the Patriots. Drake May, a young quarterback, wanting to develop a relationship with a top-flight veteran receiver. Who better than Brandon to be able to come in and be a versatile piece, someone who could mentor guys like Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. This has a lot of potential for the New England Patriots without question, especially if Kendrick Bourne is going to be starting the season on PUP. So everything is aligning for the New England Patriots to try to get him. Steve, from a logistical standpoint on the field, why should this be intriguing for the Patriots coaches, for the fans, for the media? What makes this guy such a great fit in this system?
Well, I think, in that Alex Van Pelt system, they're going to take some shots down the field because they like to use the running game and then, bootleg out, take a shot down the field. That's where Aiyuk tends to, make his bones, so to speak, right? I mean,
love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's where he's that type of guy that can transform a game instantly, right? And they have these young wide receivers. And what better way, to integrate these guys into the offense by having somebody who's had so much success in the NFL. And, I looked at it, like I said, I got pretty excited when I read the same thing you did. Justina Anderson said they had reached out a few weeks ago. So that tells me that they have interest. It's not just a rumor, Brandon Aiyuk, wants out of San Francisco, and everyone always assumes, the Patriots need to be in on this. But she said they, made contact with them a few weeks ago. So it lets me have the impression, right, probably rightfully so, that they see the same things we do, how the offense could transform really quickly with Drake May, having such an established veteran there, and then working in some young kids. Money shouldn't be an issue. They're supposed to have upwards of like $100 million next year. Yep. So, and they have a ton this year still left over. I think it's easily doable. I think, it would help an offense that struggled so badly the last 2 years, especially last year. And I think he would fit in with AVP's offense. I just, from a logistical standpoint, football-wise, you could see all the possibilities and how they could move guys around, create, mismatches out on the field. Plus, you have a couple of really good tight ends. So, this could help that offense. I mean, think about how many close games they lost last year, one-score games. And now all of a sudden, your offense, they added a couple of young, pass catchers. And, we haven't seen them on the field yet. We'll have to see how they work out. But there's optimism there. You added the number 3 quarterback taken, in the draft, and now you add Brandon Aiyuk, and there's the opportunity for legitimate excitement now.
Oh, without question. I mean, you want to talk about just the year that Brandon had last year: 75 catches, 1,342 yards, 7 touchdowns, played in 16 games. Durability, productivity, right there. Stats don't lie. This guy can get the job done. And not only can he get the job done statistically, but also he has been typically a wide receiver that can win from multiple alignments. And he does fit well into this type of an offense, the type of offense that loves to use play action, run off of a strong running game, take deep shots down the field. Brandon can do it, but he can win in the intermediate areas of the field as well. And the knock on Drake May right now is that he can't win those battles intermediately. He's much better taking shots downfield than he is at navigating and using his footwork to navigate all areas of the field. Someone like a Brandon Aiyuk can make that happen. So naturally, the Patriots are going to be interested in him from an on-field perspective. You also mentioned his contract. And to me, this is where the fit really starts to leap off the page. Rumors are circulating right now that Brandon is looking for approximately about $28 million per year annually. Miguel Benzon joined us here last week on Locked On Patriots, and he anticipates that the Patriots could be up in that $100 million range in terms of cap space heading into 2025. So the Patriots are not going to have problems making this work financially. This looks like a good deal all the way around. And when that happens, you can definitely start to see seedlings of excitement. And I don't blame any Patriots fan that's excited about watching Brandon Aiyuk catch passes from Drake May or even Jacoby Brissett here in New England next year. The Pats can also win a bidding war. New England hasn't been in that position in quite some time. Typically, they've either shied away from getting into bidding wars or they just didn't have the available space to do it. It seems like both are in play right now. Elliott Wolf is being very aggressive in trying to upgrade the pass catching prowess on this team. Doesn't seem like he's shy about spending money. And in that regard, the Patriots now have some muscle behind that. So if you're excited about Brandon Aiyuk coming to New England next year, folks, yeah, logistically from a Patriots standpoint, all the boxes are checked. This makes perfect sense. But in all things that are reasonable, there's a flip side to it as well. And unfortunately, in the next segment, Steve and I are going to take a walk over to the dark side. We're going to explore why it might be unlikely that Brandon Aiyuk wears a Patriots uniform next year and why it might not even be the Patriots' fault. All that and more when we continue our Brandon Aiyuk trade rumors discussion episode right here on the Locked On Patriots podcast, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On listeners, when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team to help you do it faster. Here's the best part, folks. They help you do it for free because LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. And on LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Patriots fans, thank you for joining me here today on Locked On Patriots. We are talking all things Brandon Aiyuk trade rumors. And of course, if there are rumors out there, you know your New England Patriots are connected to them. Are they exciting? Absolutely. Are they realistic? Well, that's why we brought our resident voice of reason here to talk to us today, my good friend Steve Balestrieri of PatsFans.com. And Steve, in the previous segment, we talked about all the reasons why it is great to be excited about these rumors, why the Patriots are legitimately contenders to land his services, whether it be financial, whether it be on field. The Patriots are in perfect position to make this happen. But you and I both know that this is not a perfect world, especially here in New England and in Foxborough. Anything and everything is subject to change. Now, according to Josina Anderson yesterday, the New England Patriots have at least inquired about acquiring Aiyuk from the San Francisco 49ers. But what I didn't mention from Josina's report is that it tails off by saying the Niners told the New England Patriots that they were uninterested in trading Aiyuk's services over to the Pats. Basically, they're uninterested in moving him at all. This is a guy they want to keep. And he's a player whose value is recognized by that team. So, Steve, if you have a team that's unwilling to move a trade piece, it kind of pours a lot of cold water all over the trade fire. However, we also know that this is a league full of posturing, full of games, full of jockeying for position. So when you look at this from a logistical standpoint, Steve, other than the Niners' indifference in not being willing to trade Brandon Aiyuk, what else could potentially derail Brandon being traded to the New England Patriots, or really anywhere for that matter?
Well, you know, I know Aiyuk, he played that leverage card, right? Saying, all right, we're not getting anywhere. I want to be traded. That doesn't mean they're not going to come to an agreement before training camp is halfway done, right? I mean,
Right.
we've seen this before, and that's the ultimate leverage card. Okay, the Niners are probably locking in what they say. This is our last best offer, which we know is never the truth, but all teams play that, right? And they have to know they're right there in the mix. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl last year. They have a tremendous football team. Do they really want to lose Brandon Aiyuk? I know that they're in cap space purgatory right now. That they can't afford to keep all their players. All teams run into that. But at the same time, they're still right in the middle of that window where they're going to compete for another Super Bowl appearance. So can they make it work for at least one more year and then let him walk next year? If they make it to the promised land again, that's a possibility. I mean, at the same time, I don't know if Aiyuk wants to come here. I heard rumors about a week or two ago that he really wanted to go to Pittsburgh.
Mm.
Now, we know the Steelers don't have that kind of cap space, but would they be willing to make it for a guy like Aiyuk? I think so, because they lack depth at wide receiver as well. And adding Aiyuk to that offense would greatly help them as well. So I think that's the main reason. I mean, you look at the big picture. I think Aiyuk has still a very good chance of staying there. I know there was rumors they can't pay Debo, they can't pay Aiyuk, both of them at the same time. But I think there's a good chance that at least for this year they might be able to make it work.
Mm. Yeah, and you think that's got to be San Francisco's top priority, is trying to make this work. Again, this is an asset. This is a priority. This is a commodity. And this is a player that is one of your best offensive players. And when you're dealing with a young quarterback in Brock Purdy that is listed and viewed as one of the top players at his position in this league because of the success he's had, you want to maintain that. Keeping Brandon Aiyuk in the fold is the way to do that. So I agree with you. The Niners are going to do everything they can to make sure that he stays. And they can play that leverage card. They can tell him that if you play under this contract this year, play out the 5th year, we're going to have Debo Samuel's contract coming off. We're going to clear that space. You and Brock can be taken care of. You're the future of this franchise. If Brandon buys into that, the San Francisco 49ers have their problem solved. So that, to me, is going to be the biggest impediment for the New England Patriots or any team trying to trade for him. It's the fact that the Niners have leverage to be able to bargain with Brandon Aiyuk and appeal to his good nature. If that doesn't work, rumors are abound right now that the 49ers are going to be looking for a first-round type return, which means a first-round draft pick. If that happens, I think we're both being realistic here and saying that the Patriots have a better chance of picking in the top 10 in the draft than making the playoffs. Just the way things are constituted right now and the type of season most analysts believe the Patriots are going to have. Now, look, they could surprise some people. There is talent on this team. I don't want to make it seem like this season is DOA before it even begins. But if we're being realistic, that's what we're looking at right now. The question is whether or not it's worth it to submit top 10 draft capital in order to secure Brandon Aiyuk's services. Now with Elliott Wolf at the helm, Steve, this is a team that is really kind of hanging their hat on being a draft and develop team. If they're confident in their ability to draft and develop, do they use that top 10 capital to get a surefire wide receiver? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Don't forget, this team may also have a need at tackle. If the experiment with Caden Wallace and Chuck Okorafor does not work out, they may have that need as well. So that draft capital is so valuable. You have to ask yourself, if you're the New England Patriots, is it worth it?
That's the other thing, is they're not really ready. I mean, Brandon Aiyuk for some teams will be that last little piece, right? Mm-hmm. Well, actually, it'd be a great big piece, but you know what I'm saying. But he would be that last cog, right? That puts you over the top. It puts you in Super Bowl contention. Patriots aren't going to be there this
Right.
year. We think they're going to be better. Some people, some of the national writers are saying they're going to have the number one pick next year. I don't believe that. But at the same time, like you said, I think you've hit it perfectly. They have a better chance at getting another top 10 pick than they do of making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say they couldn't surprise people and be close to a 500 team. I think, last year, if they had Jacoby Brissett on the roster last year, I think they would have been close to a 500 team.
Absolutely.
But would they be willing to part with that first round draft pick? That will be the ultimate test, right? And, if you're the 49ers, you're looking at New England's draft pick as opposed to some other teams and saying this one might be a little higher. Of course, by giving Aiyuk to the Patriots, that draft capital might go down a little bit because he might be the difference between winning and losing a couple of games at least, right?
Without question.
But at the same time, they have to looking at the big picture. Look, the Patriots, in some, writer's opinion, are going to be picking number one. Obviously, they won't be picking number one if Aiyuk goes there, but it still might be a good draft pick for them. So, getting that first round pick from New England might hold some sway with them. But the other thing is just, they're not really there yet. I mean, you want to improve your offense, and the fact that they reached out to the 49ers, I think, is a sign that, hey, we couldn't be better a lot quicker. This rebuild, because I think the defense, and you agree with me, the defense is going to be just fine this year.
Oh, yeah.
It was good last year, and now they're getting back Matthew Judon and, Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones. So it's going to be good. This could help that offense that struggled so badly last year. I mean, you got Drake May, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, and now you add Brandon Aiyuk in there. It's going to look a lot better. So I don't know. Something tells me that, they definitely kicked the tires on it, but I don't know. I just, as much as I'd like to see it happen, I'm not sure it's going to.
Right now, Steve, we can agree on one thing, 100% ironclad. At the time we're recording this podcast, Brandon Aiyuk is still a member of the San Francisco 49ers. He hasn't gone anywhere yet. It means he hasn't gone to New England. If the season began today, the New England Patriots have a lot of bodies at the wide receiver position, only a few slots open to make the 53-man roster. If there's no Aiyuk, is there no problem in New England? Steve and I are going to discuss that matter as we wrap up today's discussion right here on the Locked On Patriots podcast, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Listen up, Locked On listeners. I know you love sports. I love sports. As a matter of fact, I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But with the playoffs now firmly behind us, we get fewer games. And the sports just aren't sportsing like we want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. Yeah, that's right, folks. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Patriots fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots and for making us your first listen each and every day, especially all of you everydayers out there. A special tip of the cap from the bottom of our hearts. We always appreciate your support of Locked On Patriots. And now that you've made us your first listen, please go ahead and make your second listen Locked On NFL. all the league stories brought to you by all of the local experts that you can only find right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Folks, we employ the best in the business for a reason, and Locked On NFL will show you that not just your New England Patriots are covered here on the Locked On Podcast Network, but all 32 NFL teams, including draft, scouting, anything you want to know about the NFL, we've got it right here on the network. And that being said, I want to give a special shout out to my friends, my colleagues, Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker over at Locked On 49ers. That's right. We're talking an awful lot of Brandon Aiyuk today. You want more Aiyuk talk? Well, they're the resident experts, because that's what we do here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And folks, today here on Locked On Patriots, we are getting a dose of much needed reason from our resident voice of reason, my good friend Steve Balestrieri of PatsFans.com. Steve, we've talked a lot about a potential trade for your New England Patriots to secure the services of Brandon Aiyuk. We've given you the reasons why it could happen. Then we've given you the reasons why it might not happen. But bottom line, what we're dealing with right now is the reality that Brandon Aiyuk is still a member of the San Francisco 49ers. And if that doesn't change, or the Niners ship him elsewhere to, I don't know, the Washington Commanders, you mentioned the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those are the other teams right now that are potentially in on Brandon's services. That would leave the New England Patriots with a great deal of volume at the position right now, but maybe not a whole lot of depth. When you look at this roster right now, when you look at this positional group, Steve, if Brandon Aiyuk is not part of the solution, do the Patriots still have a problem on their hands when it comes to fielding a viable pass-catching core?
Well, I think a lot will depend on Bourne's health, obviously. You know, he was off to a very good start last year, and before he was injured. You know, he brings that element to the team where he's a very positive type person. I like Bourne. I actually did on Sunday, I posted my first 53-man roster projection, and I did have them keeping 6. And my 6 were Bourne, Douglas, Polk, Baker, Osborne, and Butte. And, you know, I had them either trading Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Reagor, Baker, Wallace, and Jackson were cut. And I look at it this way. You know, when this was before the Butte news, I was like, Jalen Reagor offers a lot in the return game, but he's kind of limited, you know, as a wide receiver.
Right.
Well, Butte, you know, we've seen little flashes of him, but at the end of minicamp, he flashed real hard. And I think, you know, now that this albatross is lifted off his back, you know, we can see what he can bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's going to take a while for this group to gel. I don't think they're going to come out of the gates and be, you know, being able to blow people away. You know, I don't see that happening. Maybe for the entire season, but I think they're going to be a lot better than they were a year ago. But it's going to take some time, especially, you know, you got some young guys. Douglas is only in year 2. You have 2 rookies in Polk and Baker. Osborne's just coming over, you know, so there's not a lot of, you know, established veterans here other than really Osborne and Bourne, you know, and so I think it's going to take a little while. Is it going to be no problem without Aiyuk? I don't think I'd go that far with it, but I do think they're going to be better. But bottom line with Smith-Schuster, I mean, his cap hit is $12 million. And right now, at this point in his career, I don't see him as being better than any of the 6 guys I have above him.
Agreed. And I think that's one of the reasons why you will see, or at least hear, about the Patriots doing their due diligence to try to find a trade partner for him, because it's much more palatable for the Patriots to trade him. There's much more of a cap benefit to trade Juju as opposed to just releasing him. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be very difficult for Juju to earn a roster spot. Not impossible, because he can show flashes of being a very solid contributor in an Alex Van Pelt offense. If he comes in and has an amazing camp, yeah, the Patriots are probably going to weigh those back and forths, and they'll say, hey, you know what? We're probably better off keeping this guy on staff because of the veteran presence he brings. Kendrick Bourne is a wild card right now. We might be able to look at him as someone who could start the season on PUP. If that's the case, that opens up another spot for a guy to come in and be able to make the 53-man roster. Mario Douglas is arguably your best receiver right now. He'll get the top spot. He's a roster lock. Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, judging on their draft position, they're roster locks as well. KJ Osborne, I think, should be considered a lock. This is a guy that has an awful lot of potential. Didn't get a chance to show it as much in Minnesota. But again, I want to go back to my good friend Luke Braun, host of the Locked On Vikings podcast, who I spoke with very shortly after the Patriots acquired KJ. And he says, you're getting a guy that not a lot of people know about. We know about him up here in Minnesota. We love him, but that could be more of a household name if he's given the opportunity to flex his muscles. So I like that addition. And this is a group that can grow with a young quarterback. The question is, you need someone, a solid veteran that can come in and bring it all together. Yeah, it'd be nice if it was Brandon Aiyuk, but if the Patriots do have to utilize guys like Kendrick Bourne or maybe a Juju Smith-Schuster if they keep him around, that's probably what we're looking for. I think it's either Aiyuk or bust when it comes to significant upgrades to this unit. I don't see them going elsewhere to find another receiver at this point.
No, not this year. Like you say, I'm usually the voice of reason, but I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb here, because I think by the end of the season, I think Jalen Polk's going to be the number one receiver on this team if they don't land Brandon Aiyuk.
That's interesting because, again, our good friend Miguel Benzon joined us here a few days ago on Locked On Patriots, and he had a bone to pick with a good friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, and one Thomas Murphy, who said that he didn't believe Polk was going to be a wide receiver one at any point in his career. That's interesting because a lot of people are joining you on that bandwagon, Steve, right now, that Jalen Polk has the ability to be a number one wideout, not just because of the on-field prowess and the skill set that he brings to the table, but the attitude and the leadership ability and the fact that he's able to inspire players and really get players to play to their maximum. We saw him do it at Washington. It would be really interesting if that happened here in New England and really help to elevate Drake May in the process. This is something that originally, I'll be honest with you, I was opposed to, but I am starting to come around on it a little bit now because of what I'm seeing. And that's why Jalen Polk is going to be a player I'm going to be watching very closely right from the outset of training camp. You want to see how these guys are coming in, especially the youngsters, the rookies, how they're coming out from their first pro training camp. Do they still have that hunger they had in rookie mini camp and in mandatory mini camp? If they do, it says a lot about their character. I expect that from Javon Baker. I definitely expect it, maybe even more from Jalen Polk. So great drop in, and I like it. We're going to continue to cultivate that and see what's what here in New England.
Yeah, I just really like this guy. You know, when he was coming out in the draft, Derek and I on our podcast were talking about him, and I was like, he's not great at any one thing, but he's very good at everything. And that usually translates into success. And that's why I'm really high on this kid. And I'm anxious to see what he can do on the field once training camp starts.
Definitely. And there's no question about it. It's always a situation where New England right now, and I think any team, is always looking for ways to maximize their potential. And training camp is really the very brief seedling of what needs to happen when you go and you make that jump to the next level. Always interesting and always a lot of fun when it comes to the New England Patriots and when it comes to their ability to field a solid unit this year. And whether Brandon Aiyuk is a member of this New England Patriots team or not, whether you believe it's probable, possible, impossible, Pats have got some work to do on offense, so don't lose hope, folks, because there is still a lot of talent on this team. It's going to be an interesting offensive year under Alex Van Pelt and Gerard Mayo here for the first time in New England in quite some time. Steve, what can I say? It's always an honor and a privilege when you join me on the microphone, when you lend your wisdom, counsel, and reason, especially the reason today, because we needed it more than ever. Before I let you go, Bud, please let everyone know where they can reach out to you, interact with you, and what you got marinating in La Cucina Balestrieri between now and next week when we have you back here for week 1 of Patriots training camp.
Well, speaking of Cucina Balestrieri, if you look over my shoulder, there's an apron hanging there from Sicily. So one of my relatives went over to visit.
I love it.
They know I do all the cooking here, so they brought me an apron, but it's so nice. It's all colorful. Can't really see it from here, but it's got all the Sicilian stuff on there. And I every time I look at it, I just get hungry. But you can follow me on Twitter at SteveB7SFG. I write for PatsFans.com. Derek Havens and I do a podcast called Patriots 4th and 2. You mentioned that, and thank you for the plug.
Oh, of course.
We had a talk the other night. We were on the air late on Sunday night. So, we did or Monday night, I believe it was. We did a quick podcast, and we're going to be talking about Brandon Aiyuk coming up, because I think that's going to be a big storyline across the NFL, whether or not the Niners can figure out a way to keep him or he's going to move. And that is going to be big news. I mean, he's that kind of a talent. I would love to see New England grab him. I don't know if it's going to happen, but, wouldn't that be fun to watch at training camp?
Absolutely. It would be a blast to watch in training camp. And folks, we will continue to move you forward as the Patriots get ready to open training camp on Wednesday, July 24th, 11 a.m. Locked On Patriots once again able to provide boots on the ground coverage, and we can't wait to begin the coverage of the 2024 season. A new beginning, a new era is about to begin in earnest in Foxborough. Once the pads go on, Steve, that's when we know that it's real football ready to come back. You can almost reach out and touch the start of the regular season. And again, a tip of the cap and a big thanks to all of you everydayers out there who continue to make Locked On Patriots possible. In the meantime, I want to thank my good friend Steve Balestrieri for joining me here today, and remind you all to stay safe and to stay well and to be the change you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow on Locked On Patriots.